Okay, welcome and good morning, and thank you for joining us for this today's session on Coopetition. Today is all about building competitive alliances to expedite the regional market recovery. One of the biggest issues we have now is when do we get out of this crisis, and how do we get there? We've got a great lineup of panelists today from all parts of the Asia Pacific region, representing North Asia, Southeast Asia, and Australia and New Zealand. We have a great group of panelists, including Nichapa Yosawe, who's the Senior Vice President at MICE Thailand, Convention and Exhibition Bureau. Nichapa, as you all know, is a great visionary for Thailand and a strategic thinker, and she's got lots of great thoughts on how the region can cooperate together. So I really welcome Nichapa to today's session. We have Amelia Roziman, who's the CEO of Business Event Sarawak. As you probably all know, Business Event Sarawak is a small bureau and a small destination with a big voice, and has been leading the way as a regional destination in the Asia Pacific region for quite some time. So we're very much looking forward to Amelia and what she has to say today. And right down south, we have Leone, Business Events Bid Manager for Tourism New Zealand, another great global thinker, the greatest ambassador that New Zealand has ever produced, and a big believer in partnerships. Just across the ditch, we've got Andrew Hiebl, who's the CEO of the Association of Australian Convention Bureaus. We know that, for those that don't know, that Andrew is actually in the Hall of Fame, the Meetings Industry National Awards, and he's a director on the Business Events Council of Australia. And up north, we have Alicia Yao, from the founder of IME Consulting, based in Beijing. Alicia, for those that you know her, is an industry icon, and she's a very active participant in many industry associations, including ICA, SITE, and has just run some great programs in Beijing in Hangzhou, I believe, for YAPCO. And just across the road from Alicia is Jason Ye, the CEO of GIS Group. Jason needs no introduction. He's been a previous chair of the Asia Pacific ICA chapter, and he's chair of the Taiwan Convention Exhibition Association. He's a great believer in the industry and is a great advocate for the industry for many years. So I think we've got a panel that is the leading voices in the Asia Pacific region, and certainly some great thinkers and people that can really put their thoughts to you to talk about how we work together in the future. So one of the biggest lessons our industry has learned from the COVID pandemic is how interdependent we are on each other to get through this crisis. But this brings up a question: are we doing enough collaboratively to lead us out of this mess that we're in at the moment? Are we looking closely enough at the opportunities there may be to make the MICE industry more resilient against future crises? And there will be future crises. Is it too much of a challenge for us to collaborate? We've got our own regional issues and local issues. So is it possible or too difficult for us to collaborate at a regional level to get us through this crisis and to create a sustainable industry? So this session explores if it is possible for regional competitors to work together to expediently achieve market recovery and growth, and what platforms are available to encourage greater collaboration. So we're going to kick off with our panelists and ask them a few questions. And at the end of this session, we'll be opening up a Q&A session for the rest of the audience to ask questions of the panel. So as we emerge from COVID-19, we come to the crossroads to either go back to the way we were before or to make significant changes to create a much more sustainable industry, which I think we all recognise we need. So I want to ask the panel what they believe are the common challenges we have to address in bringing the industry back from the current crisis and to create a more sustainable future. I'm going to start off with Nichapa in Thailand.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me. I think that there are definitely, and I think there's no better time than now that the MICE industry in Asia Pacific should collaborate. The challenges that we have always been telling ourselves that, okay, we cannot cooperate or collaborate. It only exists in the thinking, and COVID has brought us the new dimension and new ideas. And there are so many ways that we can work and share together. Of course, MICE will have to continue to be the tools for the any country to accelerate and to become become a greater tool to any country to promote their economic, social, and sustainability impact. And I think there are so many areas that we can work together, from the framework, the structural framework itself, like the travel arrangement, or even some business sharing or some sort. But I believe that the industry leaders should work together to redefine and reinforce the value perception, because this is the time. And we have to be a better advocator and look into a better impacts in terms of using business events to build legacy. For example, economic legacy, social legacy, and sustainability legacy. And I believe that with that, focuses would help us shape the pricing model, the new partnership model that can optimize the outcomes and cost effectiveness, which of course would improve bottom line. And also it would impact the content and program structure, and hopefully more substantial government recognition and support.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Nichiba. Can I cross to Andrew down in Australia? What's your thoughts on what are the challenges that are facing the mice industry at the moment? What are the biggest challenges we're facing across the region?
Well, I really think we've all been so focused on the opportunity to allow events to occur in our own regions. So while there's the opportunity, I think, for stronger collaboration as we come through recovery, we've all been so busy and so focused in our own backyards. And I guess from an Australian perspective, we have the additional challenge of the extra layer of government. So while we have a national approach to COVID recovery, a lot of the delivery of that approach is being led by our states and territories, which each have their own rules and processes impacting our business events industry. So I think that's one of our biggest challenges as a country. But I think collectively, there's a far greater need for us to share in, I guess, the processes in terms of how we're working with our respective governments and sharing those ideas of what's working, what's gaining traction with those governments, and maybe how can I use those processes in speaking with our own governments in overcoming some of the challenges we're dealing with. Those things like, moving away from the concept of mass gathering, given that we're such controlled environments, and seeing our colleagues in sport able to flourish, whereas given that we're indoor activities, we've got harder restrictions placed upon us. Those sort of density and capacity restrictions, and we've all gone through those processes of putting in place various COVID safe event management plans. But I think the opportunity for us to really share, to get us into that recovery process, is what's worked best in our respective countries and exchange that information.
So one of the biggest challenges you're talking about there is that there is a lot of issues at a local, regional level that you've got to contend with before you think about the Asia Pacific region. So it's looking after your own front and backyard first, and then the region. Is that where you were heading, Andrew?
That's right. I think each country has its own level of risk around what COVID safe means. In Australia and New Zealand, we've had very little case numbers across the past 12 months. So we're at the elimination/suppression strategy end of the market, and I think the public have that expectation now because of being in such a COVID safe bubble, if you want to call it that. Whereas other countries, their version of risk is a lot greater than ours at this point. And so the concept of opening up markets without restrictions is probably a little bit more appetizing. But I think there's still a lot of knowledge sharing that we can undertake, given that we still struggle on a daily basis with business events being a relatively invisible sector when we're dealing with government advocacy and lobbying.
Yeah, we're certainly the ones that are locked down first when things like the experience we're having here in Melbourne is we've gone through another lockdown after 80 or more days of COVID free. The industry opened up and conferences started taking place, and now we've gone back to lockdown. So we're always one of the first, not the only, but we're certainly one of the first. And so even though we're on a smaller scale to other countries in the Asia Pacific region, we still have the same big problem. We're the first to be closed down And that's a big issue. Let's go over the ditch to Leonie. I mean, what's the experience there? What are the biggest challenges you're facing at the moment?
Yeah, certainly. I totally agree with the last two speakers. And I think the challenge, and for not necessarily for us as in New Zealand, but for us as a collective, is what's the best practice that we have in terms of the lobbying of the government to get that recognition over the last 12, 15 months. You know, I've looked and I've seen, and some destinations have done it really well. I've copied some initiatives as best I can figure out how to. It's how we actually ensure that, you know, as this continues, as this happens again to us, that we're not the unseen sector. We are a sector that is valued for everything that we're very good at. One of the things that I know is that we're actually very good at talking to ourselves, but we don't talk outside the sector. You know, people ask me what I do. They think I run conferences. Now, that's a great thing to do, Jason, but I actually don't run conferences. So it's how we can have a framework, have a sharing of some of that best practice as to how we've coped. You know, the work that's being done in the social impact side, the work in actually showing how valuable we are is something that and how we do that when we compete with one another. But this is not competing. This is actually ensuring that we all stay in business, that the businesses that are reliant on us stay in business.
Leonie, I share your pain. I know when I talk to the man or the person in the street, I mentioned that I'm in I shouldn't say mice industry, it should be business events industry, but I say the mice industry. You spend half an hour explaining what the mice industry is. They think you're dealing with rodents, and it takes a long time to convince anybody that this is actually an industry that is a huge industry, has a huge impact across a lot of different sectors. So there's still very low awareness. We're not seen like the oil industry or the coal mining industry or even the tourism industry, just not seen in the same bucket. Amelia, I know I spoke to you the other day, and you've had challenges convincing your government. You have a very supportive government. I know that because they've invested quite a lot of resources in Sarawak, but you've still got challenges convincing government. And so what do you see as the biggest challenges facing at the moment in Sarawak?
Thank you, Mike. Hi, everyone. And thank you so much for having me here. In response to your question, Mike, I completely agree with the rest. With the collaboration. However, the challenges that we are facing, I believe is not much different from the rest of destination. And at the same time is that in these uncertain times, you know, we must all come together and perhaps work on mutual initiative to tackle problems that each destination is facing. So I say this because, you know, I believe that, you know, like what Andrew and Leonie was saying, Di Chapa was saying, is that business event family is unique in the sense that we are all connected in the worldwide sector. So each destination is very much unique and therefore a good opportunity for case studies in handling our common problem. So the challenge that we're facing is the COVID-19 pandemic effects. So one of the effects is that we know that, you know, a lot of destinations, the funding were cut down, the restriction of travel. You know, now Sarawak, we are under control movement order. So we all work from home. So as we all know that business events, you know, will not be happening and no tourist activity also. And Sarawak state itself, it has its own state disaster management committee, and we are not necessarily following the federal. So if the federal say, yes, you can travel, the Sarawak SDMC can say that, no, we cannot travel. So, you know, we have two restrictions that we need to play around. But nevertheless, we are lucky in a sense that, you know, full financial support from the state government. In fact, you know, we are encouraged to do more marketing and to develop our industry. So on the other hand is that, you know, while we are not traveling and the business are not in. So, we are more focused on the education, create more awareness on the legacy impact, the business events, like Leonie was saying just now, normally we talk with our own industry. Now we talk more from people from outside the industry. So this is where you were saying just now, Mike, that, there's a lot of questions from the government that don't understand our industry. So, this is where I see the collaboration among the Bureau that band together. Perhaps that, in some of the destination, they are very strong in the government, in lobbying the government. So perhaps that, how they do it, and perhaps that G to G, between government to government, to convince them, where business events and how business events can, help to develop the economy in the future.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Amelia. I'm going to head up north now to Alicia in China. Now, China is a really good we were just talking to Alicia earlier about how much success they're having in recovering from the crisis. There's a huge vaccine rollout where I believe in Beijing, Alicia, it's up around the 80-90% mark. And the domestic business is starting to kick back, but still international inbound, outbound is still a major issue. So what do you see as the biggest challenges in China for recovery in China?
In China, yeah, thank you for inviting me, and really a pleasure to talk, at this moment with all the friends coming from different countries. China, in fact, we recovered earlier, and domestic events, meetings, exhibitions are going on quite well. About 80% are recovered, and but we still find the challenge is the whole industry chain recovery, because this time the COVID really gave a strong damage of the whole industry chain, and this make all the members and all the agencies and of the MICE industry work together and make our competitors to be partners. So this is what we have been doing together at the beginning. So I am consulting, working together, Sourcing China. This is an association for all the corporate buyers for corporate meetings and events, and CCPIT for all the association meeting and exhibitions. We jointly set up a China Business Event Industry Committee, try to help the whole industry recovery. So that's the most important, and really we have so many stories about how we really help the industry work together. And then the other important is that every time when I invited to join the seminar, they always talk about when China can be open, when the international travel can restart it. So we think the most important is that the collaboration of the countries, Commission Bureau, Tourism Bureau, and the government, as well as the whole MICE industry, work together for two aspects. One, to make sure international travel, the destination, COVID-free control, or the standardization, how we can make our standard, the service, safe for a destination. And the other one, how to control the travelers, make sure they are safe, or the vaccine, and also they have, insurance, because right now we don't have a good insurance to offer to the international travel. So this is what we are talking, and try to bring this topic to the industry, between the countries, between the industry with the government, between, the hygiene, custom control, and immigration. So this is a big job, but we're starting doing that.
Yeah, it sounds like it's happening in all cases, and every panelist we've spoken to before and during this session, that at a local or regional level, there is a fairly there's a really good move towards collaboration within the country, within the cities. One of the challenges we're going to face is that when we start doing business with each other again in the future, as the markets open up and the travel bans are lifted, there's going to be a lot of challenges doing business with each country, because every country is going to have different standards. Every country is going to have different vaccine passport regulations. everyone's going to have different insurance requirements. So this is going to be a big an interesting topic as once we get our national domestic market sorted out, is going out there and working at a regional level. I'm going to pass over to, before I go into that topic in more detail, I'll pass over to Jason for the last word. But where do you see the challenges, Jason? And I know now when we're talking about Taiwan, we're talking about a role model destination for the business events market. They've actually had literally no COVID cases, but you've got a bit of a spike there at the moment. But Jason, in Taipei, what's the situation, and across the country, what's the situation in terms of challenges?
We just experienced what you experienced probably 1.5 years ago. Now we have like 400 or 200 something per day cases now at this moment. And we are not in the lockdown situation, but however, people are encouraged to work from home, and and restaurants are not allowed to have to have guests to have their meal inside. They only can have takeaway. So let's back to the topic about the collaboration. I think it's always good for people or industry to collaborate with each other. But I think before we're doing that, we have to think very clearly about what are the objects or what are the goals we are going to achieve through the collaboration. Because I think different sector in our industry, we have a different agenda. Like PCO industry or DMO, we all have different agenda. And so are we talking about to generating more business in the future, or are we talking about getting more resources from the government in the future? Because I think most of the government in the world, they spend a lot of money, although they still continue print the cash, but they spend all the money. And how can they put the resources into our industry? What is our narrative for lobbying and to grab their attention to our industry? What are the business event industry can help all the other industry for the recovery after the pandemic? I think we need to think about what are those agenda or the object we want to achieve. Then we can take an action in the future. And the other thing is what is the in what level we collaborate with. We can say is in our professional meeting professional level, is individual level or company level or city level or national level. But for myself, I think city level will be much easier to collaborate in the future. It's my point of view, because for the national DMO, I think sometimes it takes more. Sorry, Andrew. It takes more time to reach certain kind of consensus, within your different city, and then you need to talk to another national DMO, and they need to reach their consensus. But for city level, I think it's more easier to start to start with, and to probably in the future, like Vienna and Barcelona, they can create a very mutual understanding for getting more business and keep the business within those two cities. This is something model we can think about. And for the PCO, for my business, I think the most challenge will be the transformation of our business. We need to collaborate with some geek, and we need to transform and digitalize our business to for the future market. So I think, there's a different sector has a different agenda, and if we can separate, look at it, and it probably will be, we can reach certain result in the future.
Okay, Jason, I just want to ask you at a local or regional level, have you seen a lot of collaboration within the country itself and coming up with, do you have common objectives? And what are those common objectives? Have you achieved that at a city or a country level in Taiwan?
Not really at this moment, because not really at this moment. But I thought it before, actually for the common interest market-wise, for common interest for the Asia Pacific region, I think it's the American market. I don't know if we can do anything together for the American market. Invite those American associations to try to organize their event in the Asia Pacific region, or organize their Asian version meeting or events in our region.
Yep.
So this is something we can work on in the future. And of course, the post-pandemic, we also can have some so-called we can learn from each other. But however, I think for myself, I think the market is more important in the future.
Yeah.
If we can work on that.
Yeah, well, I think there's been two common themes that come up in discussions today. One is government and convincing government and getting government support. And the other one you've touched on, which I think is another thing that is a common platform for everybody, is you're not going to do this unless there's business. Everybody's in this to get business for their own destination. So to me, there's two very common platforms at a city level, at a national level, and at a regional level. And surely that's enough to get people together to talk and exchange. Before we go further on that topic, I just want to see maybe go back to Nichapa in Thailand. I know, and I've been watching Thailand for many years. I see you guys as the role models across the region in terms of collaboration, because you have very close linkages with your industry associations. You do a lot of things like MICE capacity building across the country. There's a very high level of collaboration within Thailand. Is that collaboration there for addressing this big issue of recovery from the COVID crisis? Are you seeing that level of collaboration? Is there a common objective and a common focus on what you're trying to do?
Oh yes, I think that we have, first of all, it is a blessing that we have a very strong association, and there are, like right now there are 4 to 7 associations. We just found 4 additional associations in relation to mega events, and therefore we have association for events management, we have association for exhibition, we have events for incentive and convention. We have always been in good partnership with all the rest of the associations. Wherever we have any vision, when I have any vision or TSEP has any idea, or the association has any ideas, we always come around and work together. The latest initiative that we have, and I would like to pinpoint basically on the convention area, would be we are in the process of forming Asia Convention Alliances. Basically, the plan is to make sure that we need more substantial lead generation efforts to, recover the economy. And that goes very well with what Jason and everybody just said. We also have MICE capabilities that I found when I headed the MICE capabilities department. And in MICE capabilities, there are 6 pillars that also translate directly into the essence of how we should develop the foundational platform of the MICE sector in Thailand. We also have the other area called Government Relations Department. Basically, the plan is to make sure that we maintain and we build a good relation with respective government body, for example, Customs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the immigrations, or whatever that are relevant to make sure that we can run a successful business events here. So the fact is that we are not under tourism ministry. That could be one of the key things. We are under the Prime Minister's office. So basically we have such a direct link to, the north, to the north, and then we can gain a great access to whatever policy that they are having. Yep. The idea of, and I would like to come back on Asia Convention Alliance, if I may.
Sure.
Okay. I think in December last year, we had the idea that, okay, our businesses are on pause at the moment and we need more substantial lead generation. And therefore we raised the notion, what we call Asia Convention Alliance. And the proposed founding members are China, of course, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and Singapore. The plan is to make sure that we restore the region's industry and strengthen the relation among the countries, the member countries. And this Asia Convention is to explore the collaboration on marketing efforts, on ease of travel arrangements and business development through partnerships. For example, we have the idea and we propose the concept of joint convention, where member countries take turn in hosting a convention and create an ASEAN or regional rotational edition of the global event. We also can choose from our current domestic big convention and rotate it with the partner country. And to me, this can help sustain the current MICE ecosystem. We can maintain jobs and we can grow domestic events to regional events. We also are now working very closely with a range of potential projects on creating alliance of PCOs. And ASEAN PCO Alliance Roundtable is one of the projects. We are working on client-supplier business forums, and whatever initiatives that we have, we always in a good discussion with TICA or TA or all the associations, so that they can play a big part and they can contribute their ideas on how best we can run the project, so that the industry as a whole can benefit.
Yeah, that sounds like a very exciting initiative, and I want to come back and explore that, because I'm going to ask you later, Nichpa. I want you to think about this, but can you broaden the membership of that alliance? I'm sure Leonie's sitting there in New Zealand saying, I want to be part of this, I want to be part of this. And I'm sure Andrew's kind of thinking, scratching his head, can we be part of this? Maybe too. I don't know. But going back to regional effort, I know in Australia, Andrew, Becca has been set up to represent all the industry associations. So there's a good platform for there to lobby government. And I know you did a very good job last year of lobbying government for assistance for the industry, doing a paper that talked about the loss of business and how much business was lost as a result of that. Of COVID, and that led to a fairly significant grant to the industry. So those kind of platforms seem to work, and there seems to be common goals with organisations like Becca. And I think in Malaysia, Amelia, you've got, I don't know whether you're engaged or involved in BECM, Business Events Council Malaysia, but it's another platform that's pulling the whole industry together to one voice to government. And in New Zealand, you've got what was called SINS is now called something else. I'm not sure what you call it now, Leonie, but that's also meant to represent the entire industry as well. So I'm just wondering, any one of you can answer this. Maybe I'll go to Andrew first. Are these platforms working? Are they the right platforms for bringing these challenges to the head and lobbying government or looking at creating business opportunities?
Yeah, look, I think from a national perspective, the Business Events Council of Australia framework was the clear one for us to work together on. And so the membership of that national organisation is the convention bureaus through AACB, the Australian Convention Centres Group, Meetings and Events Australia, the Exhibition and Event Association of Australasia, and the PCO Association. So we pretty much collectively cover the major components of the business events market here in Australia on the supply side, at least anyway. And by us coming together and agreeing that we needed to have a united front, a united voice when we're speaking, not just to government, but back to the industry as well. Any fragmented messaging in either of those areas would be cause for concern, I think. If we were all going out individually seeking different policy changes or requirements, we'd be asked to go away, I think. So I think that has certainly been a success factor from our engagement with government. It has opened doors by the fact that we're seen as a united front. Our submissions have been listened to. And I think, again, our access has been great, but I don't know whether we've actually been heard, as we sort of referred to earlier on. So on a positive, we did benefit from a $50 million grant program, although the challenge with that was the model of the program wasn't what industry was after. So government designed their own program, which had a lot of kickback. So I still think there's a bit of government engagement relations that could be improved, and maybe COVID is one of those opportunities for us to have a platform to have a better understanding and relationship in the longer term.
Yeah, so the primary role of Becca is really to lobby government and represent the entire industry of Australia, right? And to put the case to government, right? In Malaysia, Amelia, you've got, I don't know how engaged you are with Beckham, but that's a fairly new outfit that's been set up over the last 1 or 2 years. Are you seeing that as a good platform at a national level to bring the industry together and to communicate to government? And do you think that's happening effectively?
Well, since we are in the island of Borneo, so they have to cross the South China Sea. So, well, you know, we have this year, we have successfully formed Sarawak Business Events Association. So this is the first state-level business event association. And then currently we are working on forming the Sarawak Business Events Federation and also the council. I think during this hard time, you know, our own association for business events play such a huge role, because if you look at the funding or the support that were given by the government, you need to be registered or you need to belong to some associations that relevant to business events. Currently, we have MASEOS, which is federal, but we are very happy that our industry partners has put their hands together. And finally, after I don't know how many months of hard work, almost a year maybe, we finally get the Sarawak Business Event Association work. And hopefully by the end of this year, we will have the federation and also the council to be the voice of business event industry for Sarawak.
So up to date, it's been really the Bureau that's been the voice of the industry, and now the industry is getting behind you collectively. So you've got both private and public sector talking to
Yes.
government. And has this come as a result of COVID, or is this something that was in the planning a long time ago?
It was in the planning already, but I think during the COVID time, you know, it's pretty much, accelerate the whole thing. And then one of the achievements that, Sarawak Business Event Association, after 3 months being formed, it's thanks to Nichapa, Thailand Mines Capability, for collaborating with us in partnership for CIS certification for site in Sarawak. So it will be in July. So thank you so much for that.
Okay, let's go to New Zealand. Leonie, I mean, what level of collaboration? I mean, have you seen a change in how the industry is working together? I know you've always had a very close working relationship between Tourism New Zealand and SINS. Is there a higher level of cooperation now talking to government in New Zealand?
Yep, there is. So our industry association, yes, it's their job to lobby the government. It's not my job as Tourism New Zealand, as the government. However, one of the things that we certainly engaged in a lot, we have engaged in a lot more, and we will do more of this, a support with the research and the facts and the insights, which, you know, if you want to lobby the government, you have to have the facts. Yep. And, you know, I'd suggest that that's possibly an area that we as Asia Pac could work better together on. What do our clients want? How does it work? You know, I mean, we've probably all done research. We probably all know that hybrid is here to stay, and, you know, virtual conference, you know, that sort of thing. But we you know, have we asked our clients what they're wanting in the future, how their world has changed? You know, I guess I go back to the point I said before, we're pretty good at talking to ourselves, but we need to talk to our clients. And as a unique part of the world, you know, there's probably ways that we could collaborate and work together to get some of that information. You know, I don't know. That's just a thought.
Yeah, no, it's a good thought. Very good thought.
Yeah.
Let's go back up northwards to China. I'm very interested to hear, Alicia, what you were talking about, the committee that's been set up. This is a direct result of COVID, I'm expecting, but is this a partnership between the private sector and government to develop strategies to address issues? I mean, what's the purpose of this committee, and what's its focus?
This committee, China Business Event Industry Committee, was founded in year 2018. At that time, we set up just for, education, gathering all the industry together with the agency, with the corporate, with the association, and the CCPIT is very strong with the government background. So we can, through this channel, we can have our ideas and all our suggestions and go to the government, which also you have a strong influence on the association meetings and association exhibitions or events. So we can put all the industry, MICE industry together. So later we find out, after COVID, it's really, really need help for the whole industry chain working together. And then with all the requirement of the association and corporate, we started a virtual seminar in March last year, 2020. Very early, and because all the associations say, what can we do with the management? We used to be face-to-face, and now the events cannot be done, and how we can make our association go on with a financial balance. So there are so many problems, and also at the same time, they need to help their members. So we started the virtual seminar because this is COVID the first time for everyone. No one knows what to do. And we have to sit together and find out, maybe with the same topic, we have over 10 associations working together and talk and find out the way we can help with the industry. So we have this idea, and then immediately we have over 10 associations immediately joined up. And a lot of them, association for the business enterprises management and all tradings. They are competitors before, but now they jointly together and see what they can work together. And when we do that across the country, they bring their idea back to their industry. So more alliance are set up. Some mainly set up their own because based on the different projects, and some for science and technology, biomedical, and some for seafood, and some for agriculture. So all once we have the networking together. Because before COVID, we have association executives networking once every month. But later we move on the virtual program online. But, before that, when we have more than 10 different associations together based on the agriculture, from the association of seed all the way to the association of the hotels. So they set up a very good industry chain and help each other. So this continues, and they find out it's most important to have the whole industry chain association working together. Before they used to be competitors, but now they jointly to be, partners, so that can really help the whole industry recovery. So this is what we been doing, and we find out not only good for the national level association work together, but also for each segment of the industry. I mean, professional or industry association to do on their own. Some even develop more, not only have the association or societies or foundations work jointly, or Chamber of Commerce jointly together, but also have some big influence of the universities and research institute working together. So,
Alicia, you also mentioned to me the other day when we were talking that there's two initiatives that are being looked at. One is the passport situation, coming up with a vaccine passport, and also event insurance. Do those two topics sit under this committee? Is that something this committee is addressing, or is that under another portfolio or another organisation?
Yeah, it's one of the initiatives we're doing for on the topic of international safe travel. How we can open the door and make sure the international travel, even at this difficult time when the COVID comes back, we still need to talk that more seriously. So prepare what we should do, because the door has to be open because of the recovery of the world economy. We have to, make sure the business travel started. And then we have to think about how to work together with all the DMCs, with all the cities. I agree with Jason. The good way, very effective way is to work between the cities and because a lot of time the cities in some of the cities quite safe, and even we also talk about with the airline even think about, with some of the cities they are safe, they're open, they're ready to open. Maybe they also influence the airline routes, and so that whoever can recover or in the good condition of COVID control, maybe can start it first, can recover first, because the whole industry cannot wait. The whole world economy cannot wait. We need to do something.
I just wonder, I mean, I know at the tourism level that there's a lot of discussion between the tourism bodies and national governments about passport controls and other types of issues relating to COVID and recovery. But I wonder, in each country, is there actually a voice? Does the MICE industry sit on those panels or those platforms to bring those issues up? I think in Australia we heard Becca has a platform, but I wonder in other countries, and I think in Thailand it certainly sounded like their platform. What about in Taiwan, in your place, Jason? Do you have a platform to talk to government as an industry as a whole? You don't have a Beckham or a Becca, but do you have a platform for talking to government and having a voice on the future recovery efforts of the country for COVID?
Hey, we do have two major associations. One is the Taiwan Convention and Expedition Association. The other one is Taiwan Expedition and Convention Association. And one is more focused on the convention industry. The other one is more focused on expedition industry. I think it's more like what Nichapa mentioned in Thailand. But actually, the government here in Taiwan is quite, I would say, quite aggressive in a way. When pandemic happened, they already invite us to have a conversation with them, and they try to help us to get through this hard time. And even we had another wave recently, I would say 4 weeks ago, and they started to another program to helping the industry to get through this pandemic. However, the government at this moment, they are more encourage people to think about the future, which means they encourage the industry to transform business in a more digitalized. They encourage the industry to host hybrid event or virtual event, virtual trade show, virtual meetings. So they have certain kind of financial support program about this kind of transformation of the corporation.
I just wonder, also, do you actually have, you talked about the Convention Association and the Exhibition Association. Is there discussions between those associations to identify common goals, common objectives, common messages to government? And the sector that's missing from that potentially is the corporate incentive market. Is that represented somehow at a national level?
Yeah, actually, before 4 weeks ago, we still have domestic market. The problem we're facing is there is no inbound business. So we try to explain how important for the inbound business, because those international chain hotel, those PCO depends on the inbound business. We are all dying, and so yeah, we try to address this kind of issue to the government, and but the situation, there's not that much the government can respond to us, because it's a global issue. It's so what they can do is help us to keep our staff inside our organization, and helping us to looking for another business during this period of time.
Right. Okay. Thanks. I want to go back to, I think from talking to all of you, there seems to be a fair amount of work going on at a national or a local level to build an alliance within the industry at the local and national level, through whether it's Beckham or the Sarawak group as well, and the committee in China. Thailand, we know, is very closely knit. we've got these organisations lobbying and talking to government at a national level. What is the platform? And we've also identified a couple of things that could be a collaborative effort at a regional level. We've talked about messaging to government. We've talked about research. I think, Leonie, you mentioned research. And we also talked about, I know, Jason, your bottom line is bringing business. And I think, Nichapa, you mentioned that as well. Business is really important. That's the bottom line. It's bringing business back. So there seems to be three common goals that potentially all regions and all destinations share. What is the platform for these ideas to be shared and for discussions to take place and some sort of action to take place within the Asia Pacific region to get these things moving? What do you think the platforms are? Is it the current industry associations? Nichapa, I'm very interested in what your thinking is on the Asia Alliance. I think that's a great initiative. That seems like it's initiated by just a group of like-minded convention bureaus. But what is the platform? Has anybody ideas on where that should go to move this? We've only got one big opportunity here as we go through COVID crisis to get recovery on the way. We've got lots of good ideas and things happening in different countries. We're all at different stages. But how can we bring this together as a collaborative effort within the region? So I'm going to kick off with Nichapa. I mean, the Asia Alliance sounds great, and I'd like to say, would you welcome other destinations to be part of that, or is it a private club? Because Leonie's sitting there saying, I want to be part of this. I know that. I've spoken to Leonie many times. Leonie's always talking about she wants to be engaged with the Asia region. Nichapa, over to you.
Thank you. Definitely, it's not a private club,
Good.
But it opens to all the business events professionals, definitely. I think with the mutual benefits at its core, the idea when I talk with, other convention friends or my other bureau friends, the concept or the idea has been very well received. We have already initiated a very promising dialogues with potential CBB's partner, for example, Seoul Convention Bureau, who had and who has been an engaging partner, I would say, on the topic. And we probably should be able to see a solid alliance development with SCB or Seoul Convention Bureau later this year. Other partners in the initial stage include TITRA, and I don't know whether I should add more. Jason can help me on that. I also already initiated dialogue with China, Beijing and Shanghai, also Japan and Singapore. Malaysia is next in line, and definitely, I am looking forward to allying with AACB, with Andrew, like Leonie, everyone here. But I think that as a region, we have gone through thick and thin together, and I believe that our common goal is for the industries to succeed together, and therefore the timing is right to form such alliance. Now, the other platform, Mike, you mentioned the other platform that we should sort of push ourselves or insert ourselves as an agenda into government platform. I would say the other platform should be ASEAN Economic Council.
Yes.
Of course, the major idea basically is on tourism, because tourism is big for every country. And the level that they are discussing, we can insert or put it as a policy. And Thailand has been very well positioned, I would say, in the ASEAN Economic Council, because we have been working very well with them in several ideas and several projects.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that is coming out of COVID is this whole concept of regionalisation and trade agreements within the region. And I know the ASEAN Economic Forum was set up, I think, in 2015, so it's now 6 years old. So that's got to create some sort of benefit or opportunity for the MICE industry, as does other trade partnerships within the region as well. So I see that as a really good potential platform for a bit of collaboration and to see what you can actually leverage out of that. There's also been other good initiatives. There's the Hybrid Cities Alliance that I think Seoul is also a member of now, where they're collaborating, looking at hybrid conferences and exchanging ideas and knowledge on that. We've seen one of the great initiatives that came out of last year was the alliance of AIPC, UFI and ICA. that came out with the good practices guides last year, which I thought was another great initiative. And you've got some that have been, and you've also got, there's been a signing of agreement between Australia and New Zealand, a landmark agreement last year to try and get greater collaboration across two traditionally very competitive destinations, New Zealand and Australia. So there is signs that things are happening, but is it enough, and can we actually move forward and get these things moving and actually come up with action plans and get things addressed? Because there's a lot of, I've sat in a lot of sessions over the last 12 months, lots of Zoom calls. There's a lot of talk, but there hasn't been a lot of action from what I can see. I just want to go around the table and get your thoughts on this. And also, Nichipa, you mentioned something about creating events. One thing I wanted to mention is that we just finished doing a bit of studying on what industries are going to thrive post-COVID and where are their business event opportunities. There's healthcare and wellness, a lot of things, particularly in the technology industry, from cyber security to digitization, robotics and stuff like AI, all these new green tech, agri-tech, green technologies, transport, logistics, online services, everything from teaching, remote learning, fitness, shopping, entertainment, safety and hygiene, and social justice issues, equal rights. These are all things that are emerging as growth sectors. They were kind of there before COVID, but they're emerging as new sectors. And to me, going along the lines of what you were saying before, Nichipa, there seems to be some opportunities for some collaboration to look at some of these sectors and help focus on those sectors to help drive the new economy that's going to come out of post-COVID. Yeah. So I'm going to open up the session for any comments. I'll start with you, Nichipa, because I know you're passionate about this, but I want to get comments from everybody on where to next. How do we drive this? What are the platforms for doing this, and and what are the opportunities that we've got? So, Nichipa, do you want to make any comment on what I just said?
I think that, of course, everybody has been disheartening by COVID, but let's not focus on the darkness. Let's focus on the light, because that's where our future lies. Yeah. There are several areas that we can work together, and everything that I am thinking at the moment, I see it as a great opportunity. We can share, the economic calculator, economic impact calculator model together, all sorts of sharing. The research, of course, we have been sharing best practices. We have already been sharing the standards, the accreditation, the accreditation in terms of standards, not only the MICE venue, but also the professional standards. Right now, Thailand has been sort of working with our international associations in MICE area, like IAEE, like PCMA, like MPI, all sorts, to have their accreditation program, certified program, to upskill the professionals. I am also looking at the trends. Post-COVID, everybody is, especially in exhibition business, everybody is trying to do a lot more M&A, and therefore internally, all domestic operators should be ready to partner at the international level. So basically, that would be the other upskilling courses that the government should provide to domestic MICE operators. The collaboration can start from city level. Right now, I am bringing Pattaya to partner with the city in the other city in Asia. Sorry that I cannot name at the moment, but the city partner alliance would be such that the city would identify their own events. Each city would identify their own events, and let's see whether they can swap the idea or they can rotate the events among cities. Yeah. We also are working with the government on the visa passport. And luckily, TCEP has been sitting as one of the working team with the Ministry of Health, Public Health, not only to identify the new SOP, the hygiene protocol for MICE industry, but also how we can work with Ministry of Foreign Affairs as one unit to facilitate visa, whether or not we need a separate book as visa passport or we need just one step, that sort of thing. Also on the regional level, not only on the Asia Convention Alliance, we are also working as a clustered event. And there are a few areas that each bureaus can work in identifying the capabilities development, the business development, and also the protocol development. That would be the 3 key areas that I am currently focusing on, working with our international friends.
Excellent. Thanks, Nitra. Look, we have to close off now, but I'd like to just go around the table for final comments. And I'd like to close with one thought. And I think this was mentioned by one or two of you when I spoke to you before this session when we were doing the briefings. And that is that one of the challenges I think we have, like dealing with government, is that we're all going to government with our hand out looking for money to support our industry. And a really good thought that came up, I think it was discussion with Andrew the other day, is that we shouldn't necessarily think about going to government with looking for handouts. We should be going to government and giving them solutions to how to take the economies to the next level and to recover the economies. So we should be going out there to government to say, hey, we can help all interested sectors recover by being part of your recovery strategy, by putting on events to reinvigorating trade, getting global networks back up and running. So we should be going to government saying, we can help you recover the economy. So I just want your thoughts, last thoughts on that. I'll start off with Leonie and any other comments you want to make, and I'll give you all a minute to say something. So Leonie?
Yeah, yes, well, we are going, well, part of government, but we are actually clearly identifying that we're part of the recovery for New Zealand. We're part of the tourism and economic recovery, and that's through focusing on the 4 pillars of what we call our living standards framework, which works for our government. So that's looking at nature, it's looking at the social impact, and it's looking at the human impact. So very much we are saying events, business events do map back to all of those pillars, and we are supporting the recovery through focusing on conferences and events that map back to those very broad pillars. So we are we're positioned very well as part of the recovery. It's what we are actually doing.
This is certainly a really good platform that you can get regional cooperation on, is talking about how we're approaching government, and as Andrew mentioned earlier, the process for approaching government and giving them the right business case for why MICE and what we can do for this recovery. I'll go to Jason.
Yes, I totally agree. What the narrative, just what you say. I think we should not go to the government and begging for money, but we should let them know how business event industry can help the recovery after the pandemic. I think it's very important. We can contribute to almost every industry, no matter it's experience industry, economy, or knowledge economy. We are the platform for those industry sector to get together. So I totally agree with you, and I think it's a very good approach, and we should share this idea with our colleague in our region.
Yep, excellent. Okay, Amelia.
Hi. So answering to what Mike said just now, just for your information, in Sarawak, like I said earlier, we are fortunate that the government has always been very receptive to our industry and have continued to give us full financial support, thus recognize business event as the key industry in its economic and social plan. So the recent Sarawak Economic Action Council aspires by 2030, Sarawak would be a leading destination for ecotourism and business event in ASEAN region, driven by empowered communities to conserve heritage, culture, biodiversity, and to promote investment and development through responsible action. And legacy impact has been included as one of the important measurements along with the economic impact measurement metrics And we are definitely excited to discuss this with our global peer in the future on the legacy impact. In the legacy impact, the pillars are aligned with the 13 Sarawak key economic focus area. So what we do is that we motivate our industry partners to collaborate, to come up with a proposal, like, what we're saying just now, we need to be proactive. We don't just wait for the support that given by the government, but see what we can do. So I think early this year, we have launched our Tribe Spirit. So Tribe Spirit is a campaign to our industry partners and all the Sarawakian to be positive, during this COVID time. I'm sure, to bring them, and to motivate them to come up with different solutions, and, so they can move on. And also, like, for example, with the program that we have, homegrown event support. So this is where they can collaborate with the Bureau. And also, this is how we can penetrate into government and see what sort of collaboration that we can do. Yeah, that's all.
Great. Andrew, where are you guys moving towards positioning the industry for the government? And are you willing to share with the rest of the region?
Yeah, I was just going to say, look, I'm a big believer in regional knowledge and local solutions. So again, what we've been talking about through this session the whole time is I think that knowledge sharing platform is vital, particularly amongst the associations. And we've had a bit of a debate as to what associations lead on versus destinations. I think destinations are the drivers of business. So we need to the associations need to create an environment within their own respective governments to allow their destinations to thrive, whether that's domestic in the short term and international longer term. But I think from a regional perspective, I think there's a real opportunity, as Jason mentioned the word platform, and you sort of introduced that concept of governments investing in our sector rather than us going for a handout, because we can provide solutions. I think there's a real opportunity for governments in the Asia Pac region to invest in some kind of Asia Pac startup conferences, in particular industries that we specialize in, that might start domestically until the borders start to open. But I think there's a real opportunity for us to create events, not just, I think attracting events is important, but we're a bigger region than just a rotation of a North American and a European conference. I think there's a real opportunity for us to play a lead role in coming together and making this our own chapter of the world through events that we create ourselves. And there might need to be a bit of destinational collaboration that occurs through that. But we're a significant region. We've got a great population in this part of the world, and we should lead by example.
Great comments. Andrew, I just wanted to just add to that. You're saying, start up some of these events on a local basis, but with hybrid technology, you can make these events regional quite easily, with the ultimate goal of getting them to be more face-to-face, but there's always going to be a hybrid component. But we have a great opportunity right here and now to create events using the hybrid technologies that are available to us at the moment. So I think that's maybe a way for us to go. Alicia, what have you got to say as a final comment?
Before, we used to talk with our government how to show our value of the MICE industry. We mainly based on the room nights, how many room nights, or based on the tourism idea or destination, promotion. But now we focus, especially after COVID, how we can help. The MICE industry can really help the economy recovery. So this is a big change, and that gives us a more value, and also give us more content to design for our events. And when we talk about that, we find out because in our China Business Event Industry Committee, we have so many PCOs. And then when we talk with the association of the different industry, we find out now there are more and more requirements from the associations to sort out our PCOs to help them with the association management, because most of our PCOs manage the association, meetings, exhibitions, and events, which covers mainly about 50% of the whole financial income of the association. So now is more important after COVID, to help the association survive or continue and to make their financial balanced. So this also shows the value of our PCO and find more opportunity, business opportunity for our PCO. And then we work together with YAPCO, ICA, and we gradually, upgrade the education, the training, so that they know what our PCO responsibility and what's the step further we can develop for AMC, Association Management, company. So in China, we really don't have a real AMC, but I mean the locally, originally from China, but we are doing that. But I think that's the need of the, the industry after COVID. So this is what we are doing.
Excellent. I have to close off now because we've gone a little bit over time, but I would like to thank particularly our panelists today. You've heard it from the leaders of our industry, the thought leaders from around the region, from North, South and Deep South. I want to thank you all very much for your time and contribution today, and I really look forward to seeing some initiatives in the trade media, TDG Asia, talking about these new initiatives in the future and these platforms for greater collaboration. I thank you again, and we look forward to talking to you again on the Q&A session later on in today's sessions. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.